the common basilisk lizard, which you see here, can escape from danger by spreading out its toes and running across water. You thought it was just Jesus, the basilisk lizard. In the past 5 minutes since we've been sitting here, the earth traveled more than 5,000 miles. The Potu bird, can you tell that there is a bird in these pictures? It can disguise itself to look like a tree, but only when it closes its bright yellow eyes, because that would give it away. Researchers are working to use spider silk to help repair human nerves. Amazing. A school in Thailand built this sports arena that can fit up to 300 students entirely out of bamboo. The glass frog has transparent skin, which means you can see its bones and its organs and even watch its heart beat. Amazing. So I'm just curious, as I read those facts to you, and you looked at those images, what feelings does it bring up for you? Check in with yourself a little bit this morning. How are you feeling? Sit with these ideas and these concepts. For me, it can kind of be summed up with like, wow, or amazing. And I want you to hold on to that feeling as we explore our scripture and theme together this morning. As you've heard a couple times this morning, it is the first Sunday of Advent. And for some of us, that means that we can put up our Christmas decorations without being ridiculed by the "please wait until after Thanksgiving" crowd. Looking at my family. But it is about more than that as well. And Gail already told us the Latin word, in Latin, the word Advent means literally coming. And so these weeks are meant to prepare us, our hearts and our minds and our souls, for the arrival of God with us, or the birth of Jesus, getting ready for this baby. But interestingly enough, the two scriptures I want to talk about today, one being the one that Gail read, and the other is the gospel reading for today's lectionary, they have us preparing for something well beyond the birth of Jesus, beyond the life, the death, and even the resurrection of Jesus. So I'm just going to pull these up. So the Romans one, this isn't the whole thing that she just read, but the one on the left is the one you mostly heard. And then the Matthew passage is our gospel reading for today. Let me just read that quickly. But of that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father only. Then 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken, the other left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken, the other left. Watch, therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Therefore, you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. So if you think about it, our Romans passage is from Paul, which is well past the birth of Jesus. And this Matthew passage is actually some of the teachings from Jesus, so we're obviously past his birth as well there. And putting these passages side by side, it becomes kind of clear that both are challenging us to get ready for something. It's just not the birth of Jesus, rather the second coming of Jesus. So why are these Advent scriptures? And what can they teach us today? If you don't want to listen to the rest of my sermon this morning, I'll give you my thesis. We're living in this middle space right now. Jesus was born, lived, died, resurrected, ascended, and now we wait. And every year we get to this season of Advent and we say, the birth of Jesus is coming, and it's always the same, and it's kind of easy to be a bit apathetic or indifferent, or maybe even hopeless, like we're still here in this middle place. The world still groans. But our scriptures today both tell us to wake up. And that's what I want to talk about today. Waking up in this middle space that we're in. It's the weird space where the past isn't completely finished and gone, and also The new hasn't truly come, right? We believe God's kingdom is here, but not fully realized. Divine love has already conquered and won, and the world we live in still doesn't completely love perfectly. This is the middle space that we're waking up in. When we read Paul's writings, it's fairly easy to believe that he thought Christ would return during his lifetime, or at least to the people he was writing to. And that didn't happen. But theologically, Paul wasn't wrong. He was right to believe that every moment in time is rich with divine possibility. And that's the middle space that we're to wake up to. The Roman scripture gives us a few clues of what this looks like: laying aside darkness, putting on the armor of light. There was a whole list of things not to do, which I'm not going to talk about today. Putting the likeness of Jesus on. It talked about getting dressed. And the reason we wake up to do these things is because of what we are anticipating. When you live in a middle space like we are in now, there is something to anticipate. Now, when I was in grade school, I don't remember how old I was turning, but one of my most memorable birthday parties was a time when my mom surprised me. And she surprised me good. I had been at a friend's house, and they were bringing me home to drop me off, and instead of just letting me out of the car, they came in with me, and that should have been a sign that something different was happening. And so we walked in the door, and we came around the stairs into the kitchen, and everyone yelled, "Surprise!" And there were probably 8 to 10 friends there. I still remember the cake was layered, and it had purple icing roses, because my mom made wedding cakes, and so this was almost looked that fancy. There was only one problem with this surprise party. I never had the pleasure of anticipating it. And I didn't understand the significance of this until recently. I was reading a book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's kind of really popular right now. And so I'm going to give you a science lesson into this, the whole point of anticipation. So if you know what I'm talking about better than I do, please don't judge me this morning. I'm going to try to explain this. Most of us have heard of dopamine. It's a neurotransmitter. It's released in your brain at different times, makes you feel good. So what researchers have discovered is that dopamine is released not only when you experience the good thing, but also when you anticipate the good thing. So for example, like a gambling addict, they actually would have a bigger spike in dopamine. Let me see if I get this right. Before they place a bet, like anticipating the bet, as opposed to the dopamine they would get winning a bet. So a higher dopamine shot of pleasure anticipating the bet as opposed to winning the bet. Okay, so in my story of a birthday party, I would have had a greater dopamine spike actually anticipating my party than actually being at my party. Okay, so this is why sometimes when you kids, you dream about Christmas morning and you're just so excited, but then actually Christmas morning comes and it's maybe not as exciting as it's fun and beautiful and you get presents, but maybe the anticipation actually felt more exciting. This is why. Or maybe you daydream about an upcoming vacation and that part is almost as fun, if not more fun, than the actual vacation. Well, this is the why. So it's the difference between wanting the thing and then actually liking the thing when you get there. And so what scientists have found is that our brains have more neural circuitry allocated for wanting the thing than actually liking the thing, which I think is mind-boggling. And there's 2 reasons. First, the part of our brain that wants or anticipates things is physically bigger than the part that likes or enjoys. And secondly, 100%, and this, let me see if I can show you. So the green part up there shows the wanting, and the red part shows the liking parts. And the second thing is that 100% of the part, it's called the nucleus accumbens. I think that's maybe labeled. You don't need to know the labels, but 100% of the thing lights up and is activated during the wanting stage, and only 10% of that same space is activated during the liking or experiencing. Okay, my whole point is that anticipation is a really big deal. What I'm not saying this morning is that the full realization of God's kingdom will be less exciting than just anticipating. I'm not saying that, so don't misquote me. But the fact is that we are living in a middle space, and I am suggesting that sometimes we have fallen asleep and we have lost our sense of anticipation. Something else I'm not saying. I'm not saying we become those people that are constantly predicting the end times and saying that, oh, I'm looking for signs and events and people, and that means that it's going to be this day. Jesus clearly says no one will know. And I actually, after reading this morning's passage, wonder if that sort of behavior is a little bit of what Paul begs us to wake up from, because I think it's missing the point. So on one hand, Christians with zero thoughts towards the future can be apathetic. On the other hand, Christians obsessed with end times can live in a perpetual state of anxiety and miss this important middle space. So we're shooting for something between those, another middle space. See what I did there? Faith rather than apathy, hope rather than anxiety. I'd claim that our sense of anticipation has diminished and that we're poorer for it. I think for Paul, this anticipation was not so much about a certain date on the calendar, but more about hope and waking up to hope. And I'll admit that hope is a slippery concept for me. And I want to be clear, I don't think hope is about dismissing tragedy or disguising pain. It's not about ignoring what feels uncomfortable and unbearable. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that if you don't have time for pain, then you don't have time for hope. That it's because of an awareness of pain and suffering that brings our awareness of beauty and hope. So as Paul advocates, we must put away the things that dull our senses. I won't make a list for you, but think about it. I think that to wake up to anticipation and hope in this middle space, we have to exercise our muscles of reverence and beauty and awe and wonder. And so now I want you to go back to the beginning and think of that feeling that you felt when I read those amazing facts. I want you to hold on to that. And I want to start with reverence. Reverence is a deep respect for someone or something. Reverence is the virtue that keeps people from trying to act like gods themselves. This feels important. It's the recognition that there is something greater than ourselves. Reverence stands in awe of something. It allows us to sense the full extent of our own limits, which again shows that there's something bigger than us. Reverence takes a certain pace of life, I think. I fear that reverence for creation is easier than reverence for people. And I think reverence for humankind is easier than reverence for particular human beings. Waking up to reverence. I wonder what would happen if we marveled at our neighbor the same way we marvel at a mountaintop or a sunrise, or the facts that I read at the beginning. I read recently that our contempt for each other is a national security issue, that our drug of choice right now is knowing who we're better than. So what's the antidote? I want to put in a plug for a book that I totally left over there. It's called This Here Flesh by Cole Arthur Riley. And seriously, if you want to borrow mine or just or order your own copy. Thanks, buddy. You didn't see him. He was so fast. This Here Flesh. I could have gotten up here today and read you the chapter called Wonder. Instead, I'm just quoting her. But get the book. It is an important voice in the Black community that I just would recommend her book all over the place. So anyway, now for that little plug. She says in this book, when we grow accustomed to neglecting beauty, we eventually become creatures of hatred. Earlier this week, Clayton and I were having a conversation after yet another shooting. And he said to me, he asked the question, why is it so easy for people to hate? And my response in the moment was, I genuinely don't know. But now I wonder if it's because we've become people who neglect beauty. Like we've fallen asleep to beauty because she says, when we grow accustomed to neglecting beauty, we eventually become creatures of hate. She went on to say that awe isn't a lens through which to see the world, but our sole path to seeing. Waking up to beauty and to awe. And wonder. Wonder's the moment when you're present with the glorious now. Like, are you here with me right now? Are you in this moment? The practice of beholding beauty. And wonder's most accessible in a new situation. So maybe you don't feel wonder in this moment, if you've been here before. But it's most accessible in new situations because you don't already have a story in your head. You don't have a narrative about the situation, a script. It's like when you visit a new place for the first time on a trip that you've been daydreaming about and anticipating for. And you get there and there's so much wonder about the space. But maybe on day 5 of your trip, you've lost a little of the wonder. It's not because the place changed, but you changed, right? Like you became more accustomed to it. So while familiarity is nice and important, it can also actually squash wonder. And this doesn't mean we have to make everything new. It doesn't mean you have to start over every time. There are good things about familiarity, about ritual, and those practices that keep us rooted and grounded. So don't hear me say that. But it does make me wonder, if we've lost something year after year as we go through the mechanical motions of both the coming of Christmas and the coming of Christ. What is still left in our hands to wonder about? After dissecting Christmas down to a gift list, decorations concluded by a sanitary birth in a stable. What's still left in our hands to wonder about after dissecting the second coming down to a time, a prediction, and a sanitary ticket to heaven? Wonder is much messier than that. And it's in this middle space that we find ourselves right now that we are called to wake up to. Cole Riley in her book says, when we wonder, we loosen the cords that restrain our love. And if that's true, God have mercy. May we wake up to wonder. In Psalm 34:8, we're instructed to taste and see that the Lord is good. And I love this verse. I love it because it doesn't say, believe the Lord is good. It doesn't say, think about the Lord being good or talk about the Lord being good even. It says, taste and see. It's experiential. It uses our senses. So if that verse is true, knowing God is much closer to sitting around a table and having supper than it is listening to my delightful sermon this morning. And this feels so closely related to beauty and wonder and awe and reverence to me. Taste and see. And so this morning, I want you to taste and see the Lord is good. And I'll ask the ushers, if they're listening, to come in right now. They're going to pass baskets through the pews again. And I welcome you, if you don't have a dairy allergy, to take a Hershey Kiss and just hold it for now. Don't let it melt in your hand. So while they're doing that, I will continue. This morning in this middle space, we find God in the basilisk lizard, the po-tu bird, the glass frog, spider silk, the turning earth, a taste of chocolate, the person seated next to you, your neighbor. This morning we find God right here in this messy middle, anticipating both the birth of Christ and the return of Christ. God is in this messy, unsanitary, mysterious middle space full of wonder and full of beauty. And our scripture today says it's time to wake up. To wake up and look forward to what God will do in the future and what God is beginning to do now in your life and in mine. To trust that God can be trusted to do what God has promised. Advent celebrates that anticipation of this future. God has begun and God will continue to do. Thanks be to God. I threw some pictures on a video this morning of possible beauty or something to make you wonder, either one. And so what I want you to do is I'm going to stop talking and you're going to watch the pictures and you're going to smell your chocolate and then you're going to put your chocolate in your mouth, and I would challenge you to see how long you can make your chocolate last as you watch the pictures on the video. Savor it is what I want you to do. And just watch. What's beautiful this morning? What makes you wonder? I think those are all my instructions. And then the music team will lead us in a final song. So, taste and see.
We're still breathing 'cause we have seen